The jungle was dark and quiet. Tall trees stood like giants, their leaves blocking the light from the sky. The air smelled fresh but also strange, like a mix of flowers and something unknown. A lone human explorer walked carefully on the soft ground. His name was Jack. He was strong, brave, and curious about the stars and strange worlds. Jack had landed on this alien planet just a few days ago. His mission was to explore, find new life, and learn about the creatures that lived here. He had seen many animals and plants he had never seen before, but nothing prepared him for what he would find tonight. As Jack moved deeper into the jungle, he heard a soft noise. It was not the sound of animals. It was weak, almost like someone crying. Jack stopped and listened. The sound came from behind a big rock covered with moss and vines. Slowly, Jack walked toward the noise. He looked carefully and saw a small shape lying on the ground. It was moving a little. Jack's heart beat faster. He stepped closer and saw a young alien girl. She looked very different from any creature Jack had ever seen. Her skin was smooth and pale blue, like the sky just before dawn. Her eyes were large and shiny, like bright stars. Her hair was white and soft, flowing down her shoulders. She was small and thin, and she looked very scared and weak. Jack gently touched her arm. The alien girl opened her eyes wide and looked at him. She did not speak, but her eyes showed fear and pain. Jack could see she was hurt. Her leg was bleeding, and she was breathing hard. Jack knew he had to help her. He took off his jacket and carefully wrapped it around her leg to stop the bleeding. He picked her up gently and carried her back to his camp. At the camp, Jack cleaned her wounds and gave her water. The alien girl stayed quiet, only watching him with her big eyes. Jack wanted to talk to her, but he did not know her language, so he just smiled and gave her some food. The night was cold, and Jack built a small fire to keep warm. The alien girl sat near the fire, her eyes still wide and full of wonder. Jack felt a strange feeling in his chest. He wanted to protect her, to keep her safe. Suddenly, Jack heard a strange sound. It was coming from the bushes near the fire. He looked up quickly. The alien girl stood and walked to the side of the camp. Jack followed her with his eyes. Then, Jack saw something he could not believe. The alien girl squatted down, and after a few moments, she got up and looked at Jack. In her hand, she held a small, shining object. Jack blinked. He looked again. The alien girl had just pooped a tiny jewel. It was glowing softly with many colors. Jack's mouth opened in shock. He looked at the jewel carefully. It was beautiful and bright, like a diamond, but with colors that changed in the light. Jack had never seen anything like this before. The alien girl smiled a little, and Jack could see she was not ashamed. She seemed proud of the jewel. Jack's mind raced with questions. How was this possible? Why did her body make jewels? Was this a special power? Was it dangerous or valuable? Jack picked up the jewel and held it in his hand. It was light but strong. He thought about what this could mean. Maybe this alien girl was very important. Maybe she held a secret that others wanted. The night passed slowly. Jack could not sleep. He kept looking at the jewel and thinking about the alien girl. He decided to call her Lyra. The next morning, Jack prepared food and water for Lyra. She ate slowly, but seemed to trust him more. Jack tried to learn more about her. He showed her pictures from his world and pointed to the sky. Lyra looked at the pictures and then at the stars. She smiled faintly. Jack knew that Lyra was far from home and scared. But he also knew that he had found something amazing. He was not just an explorer anymore. He was a protector. Later that day, Jack found more jewels near the camp. Lyra had pooped again, leaving small, shining stones on the ground. Jack gathered them carefully and hid them in his bag. But Jack also knew that such jewels could be dangerous. If others found out, they might want to take Lyra or hurt her. Jack had to be careful. As the sun set, Jack and Lyra sat near the fire again. Jack showed her the jewels in his hand. Lyra reached out and touched them softly. Then she looked at Jack and made a soft sound. Jack smiled and tried to answer in the same way. He wanted to say, "I will keep you safe." Suddenly, a loud noise came from the jungle. Jack jumped up and grabbed his weapon. Lyra looked scared and hid behind Jack. Jack walked to the edge of the camp and looked into the dark jungle. He saw shadows moving between the trees. They were not animals. They looked like other aliens. Maybe they were enemies. Jack felt his heart beat fast. He had to protect Lyra no matter what. The jungle was full of secrets, and Jack had just uncovered one of the biggest. The story of the alien girl who poops jewels had just begun. The sun rose slowly over the alien jungle. Soft light spilled through the thick leaves, painting everything in shades of gold and green. Jack woke early. His mind was still full of questions about Loretha, the alien girl he had found the night before. He looked over at her. She was sitting quietly near the fire, her eyes wide and curious, watching the flames dance. Jack felt a strange connection with her. She was different, yes, but also fragile and alone in a strange world. Jack packed the small bag where he kept the shining jewels Lyra had left behind. He studied them again. They sparkled in the morning light, their colors shifting like rainbows. Jack knew these jewels were not ordinary. They must be very rare and valuable. But Jack also felt a warning deep inside. Something told him that these jewels could bring trouble. Just then, a soft sound caught his attention. It was Lyra. She was looking at Jack with her big, bright eyes. Slowly, she stood and walked toward a bush nearby. Jack watched closely. Lyra squatted down, and Jack held his breath. Moments later, she stood up and showed him another small jewel, fresh and glowing. Jack's eyes widened. He whispered to himself, "She really poops jewels." He laughed softly. Amazed by this strange miracle, Jack wanted to understand more. He gently touched Lyra's hand and then pointed to the jewels in his bag. Lyra nodded slowly, as if she knew the jewels were important. Jack decided he must protect Lyra and the secret of the jewels. But how? He had no idea what dangers might come. Suddenly, loud noises echoed from the jungle. Jack's head snapped toward the sound. Twigs snapped and leaves rustled as if something big was moving fast. Jack grabbed his weapon and stood in front of Lyra, ready to protect her. From the shadows emerged a group of aliens. They looked rough and angry. Their skin was dark green, and they had sharp teeth and claws. They wore simple armor and carried strange weapons. Jack recognized them from his scans before landing. These were raiders, dangerous aliens who attacked others to take what they wanted. The raiders' eyes fell on Lyra. One raider growled, "There, the blue one. She has the jewels." Jack stepped forward and shouted, "Stay back. She is under my protection." The raiders laughed cruelly. "A human? You think you can stop us?" Jack raised his weapon and took a defensive position, but he was outnumbered. The raiders slowly moved closer. Lyra hid behind Jack, trembling but brave. Jack knew he had to think fast. He needed a plan. Then, a sudden idea came to him. He quickly took one of the jewels from his bag and held it high. The raiders stopped. Their eyes focused on the shining stone. Jack said loudly, "This jewel is rare and valuable. You want it? Don't." "You," the leader of the raiders stepped forward, eyeing the jewel greedily. "Yes. Give it to us, human. No one else will live." Jack shook his head. "No, I will not give it to you." Suddenly, he threw the jewel far into the jungle. The raiders gasped. They immediately ran after the jewel, breaking their formation. Jack grabbed Lyra's hand. "Run." They sprinted into the thick trees. Dodging branches and roots, Jack could hear the raiders shouting behind them. Lyra's small hand squeezed his tightly. Jack felt her fear and her trust. They ran until the sounds faded. Finally, they stopped by a small river. Jack helped Lyra drink water and catch her breath. Lyra looked at Jack and made a soft sound, almost like a thank you. Jack smiled. "You're safe now. For a little while." But Jack knew this was only the beginning. Back at the camp, Jack examined the jewels more closely. He realized the jewels were not just pretty, they had power. One jewel glowed brighter when he touched. Another gave off a soft warmth. Jack remembered stories from his training about rare alien minerals that could heal or power machines. Could these jewels be even more special? Jack's mind raced. If these jewels were this powerful, many would want them and Lyra. He looked at Lyra, who was watching him quietly. Jack knew he had to protect her from the world and from the greed that would follow. The next day, decided to move the camp. The jungle was too dangerous now. He wanted a place where Lyra could be safe. They traveled for hours, carrying supplies and staying alert. Along the way, Jack tried to learn more about Lyra. He pointed to himself and said, "Jack." Then he pointed to Lyra and waited. Lyra smiled shyly and said, "Lyra." Jack nodded. He smiled back. They were beginning to understand each other as the sun began to set. They reached a small cave hidden behind thick vines. Jack lit a fire and set up the camp quickly. Lyra explored the cave. Ooh, she seemed to feel safer here that night. Jack sat near the fire, watching the stars. Lyra came and sat beside him. She reached into her small bag and pulled out a jewel. Jack took it gently. The jewel shone with a soft blue light. Lyra looked at Jack and said quietly, "Home." Jack understood. This jewel was more than just a gem. It was part of her world, her people. He promised silently, "I will help you find your home." But Jack knew it would not be easy. The raiders would come back. Others might come too. Jack had to be ready. He took out his communicator and sent a message back to his ship, requesting backup. Alien girl with special abilities. Threats nearby. He hoped help would come soon, but for now Jack and Lyra were alone. In the quiet cave, under the glowing jewels, a new friendship began. The secret of the jewels was growing bigger every day, and so was the danger asterisk. The morning sun peeked through the thick jungle leaves, casting soft beams of light on the small cave where Jack and Lyra had found shelter. Outside, birds sang their strange alien songs, but inside, the air was tense and quiet. Jack sat near the fire, sharpening a small blade. His eyes were sharp and alert. I had not stopped thinking about the raiders who had attacked them. He knew they would not give up so easily. Lyra watched him silently. Her large eyes followed every movement Jack made. Though she was tired, her body was ready to run or fight if needed. Jack looked up and smiled softly. "We must be ready," he said simply. Lyra nodded, though she did not fully understand the words. But she felt the seriousness in Jack's voice. Suddenly, a faint sound came from outside the cave. It was quiet, almost like a whisper. Jack stood up quickly and signaled for Lyra to be silent. He moved to the entrance of the cave and looked out carefully. Through the thick trees, he saw movement. Shadowy figures were moving fast toward the cave. It was the raiders. They'd found them again. Jack felt his heart beat faster. This time they were not alone. Behind the raiders, more strange aliens appeared, thin, tall, and with bright red eyes that glowed even in daylight. Jack had no idea who these new aliens were, but their presence made the danger worse. Jack turned to Lyra. "We must leave now." Lyra's eyes grew wide with fear, but she trusted Jack. She stood up and grabbed his hand. Together, they ran out of the cave and into the jungle. The jungle was thick and wild. Giant plants blocked their path. Strange creatures watched them silently from the shadows. Jack led the way, his sharp eyes looking for the safest path. Lyra struggled to keep up. Her small legs were tired, but she ran with all her strength. Behind them, the sounds of the chase grew louder. The raiders shouted and cursed. The new aliens moved with strange speed, closing the gap quickly. Jack knew they had little time. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shook. The jungle seemed alive with danger. From the trees above, large branches fell, blocking their path. Jack pushed Lyra behind a big rock. "Stay here," he whispered. Jack grabbed a sharp stick and waited. The raiders appeared, followed closely by the red-eyed aliens. Jack stood tall and shouted, "You will not take her." The raiders laughed. "We want the jewels. She belongs to us." Jack lunged forward and fought the first raider. His blade cut through the air, surprising the attackers. The red-eyed aliens attacked from the sides, fast and strong. Jack fought hard, dodging their blows. He swung his blade and kicked at the closest raider. Lyra watched, fear and worry in her eyes. The fight was fierce. Jack's muscles burned, but he did not stop. Suddenly a loud roar came from behind the attackers. All turned to see a giant beast charging through the jungle. It was a strange animal, with thick fur and sharp horns. Its eyes glowed with anger. The beast slammed into the raiders, sending them flying. The red-eyed aliens hissed and backed away. Jack took this chance. Run, Lyra, run. Lyra did not hesitate. She ran through the jungle, deeper into the wild. Jack fought the beast and the remaining raiders, buying time. After a moment, Jack broke free and ran after Lyra. He caught up with her near a river. They both stopped to catch their breath. Lyra looked scared, but safe. Jack smiled. We are not safe yet, but we are alive. They followed the river downstream, hoping to find a way out. The jungle grew darker as the day passed. Jack noticed Lyra looking at the jewels in her small bag. She seemed worried. Jack took one and held it in his hand. These jewels brought danger, he said softly. But they are also our strength. Lyra nodded slowly. Suddenly, the river water began to glow. Jack and Lyra looked around in surprise. The jewels in Lyra's bag shone brightly, making the water sparkle. Jack touched the water with a jewel. To his shock, the water healed a small cut on his finger instantly. Lyra smiled. Showing Jack the power of the jewels was real, but the light also attracted attention from the shadows. The red-eyed aliens appeared again, surrounding them. Jack grabbed Lyra's hand. We fight together. Battle was fierce. Jack used the jewels to heal his wounds. Lyra moved with speed and skill. Together, they were stronger than before. After the fight, Jack and Lyra found a small village hidden in the jungle. The village was home to peaceful aliens who welcomed them. Jack and Lyra rested, knowing the chase was not over. Jack promised Lyra, "We will find a way to stop them. You are safe with me." Lyra looked at Jack with hope. The jewels were a gift and a curse. Their journey had only just begun. The village lay quiet beneath the thick canopy of the jungle. Simple homes made from wood and vines stood in a small circle, their light soft against the dark night. Jack and Lyra sat near a fire outside one of the huts, tired but safe for. Now Jack looked at the jewels carefully. Each one seemed to hold a secret. They glowed softly in the firelight, colors shifting from blue to green to red. Jack could feel a strange warmth from them, like they held life itself. Lyra watched him with wide eyes, her small hands clutching one jewel close to her chest. Jack spoke softly, "These jewels are not just pretty stones. They have power." Nodded. Yes. Jack wanted to know more. He reached out gently and touched Lyra's arm. She looked at him, her eyes full of trust. Slowly, Lyra took a deep breath and began to move her hands over the jewels. As she did, the stone started to shine brighter. Suddenly, one jewel lifted from her hand and floated into the air. Jack gasped. The jewel hovered between them, glowing with soft blue light. It began to pulse like a beating heart. Jack reached out. As his fingers touched the light, a strange feeling passed through his body. His tired muscles felt warm and strong again. He looked up, amazed. "This can heal?" Lyra smiled faintly. "Yes, the jewels heal. They give life." Jack's mind raced. If the jewels could heal, they might be more valuable than he thought. They could save lives. But if the wrong people found out, they could also cause great harm. Suddenly, the village elder appeared. He was tall and thin, with silver hair and deep, wise eyes. He looked at Jack and Lyra with a calm but serious expression. "You have the stones of life," the elder said softly. "They come from the heart of our planet. They are rare and powerful." Jack listened closely. The elder continued, "Long ago, our people used these stones to heal our sick and protect our homes. But with power comes danger. Many have tried to take the stones for themselves. Jack understood the warning. The jewels were more than treasure. They were a key to survival. Lyra reached out and touched the elder's hand, smiled gently. At her, Jack felt a new respect for this small girl and her people. The next day, Jack and Lyra explored the village. The people were kind and curious. They shared stories of the planet's past and the jewels' power. Jack learned the jewels could do more than heal. Some could light the darkest places. Others could grow plants or create barriers to keep enemies away. Lyra showed Jack a small jewel that shone like the sun. When she held it up, flowers nearby began to bloom, filling the air with sweet scent. Jack was amazed. These stones can change the world. But the peace did not last long. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Jack heard a noise outside the village. He looked out and saw shadows moving through the trees. The raiders and red-eyed aliens had found them again. Jack grabbed his weapon and woke the villagers. The elder spoke calmly. We must protect the stones and our people. Jack nodded and took Lyra's hand. Together, they prepared for battle. The night was dark and filled with danger. The raiders attacked with fury. But the villagers were ready. Jack used the jewels to heal his wounds and light the path. Lyra moved quickly, her small hands throwing shining stones that created bright barriers. The red-eyed aliens hissed and charged. But the villagers fought back with courage. In the middle of the fight, Jack saw Lyra's eyes change. She reached for a jewel glowing with blue fire. With a deep breath, she threw the stone into the air. It exploded in a burst of light, blinding the enemies and pushing them back. The raiders and red-eyed aliens retreated, disappearing into the jungle. The village was safe for now. Jack looked at Lyra with pride. You have power beyond anything I've seen, he said. Lyra smiled softly. The stones are part of me, part of my people. Now Jack knew their journey was far from over. The jewels had saved them this time, but others would come. Power like this always brings danger. That night, as the village settled, Jack and Lyra sat. Beneath the stars, Jack held a small glowing jewel in his hand. He whispered, "We must protect these stones. Let's protect your people." Lyra nodded and placed her hand over his. Together they watched the night sky, ready for what would come next. The morning sun shone weakly through the jungle leaves as Jack and Lyra prepared for another day in the village. The quiet had returned, but Jack's mind was restless. He felt that danger was closer than ever. The villagers had welcomed them warmly, but Jack knew that not all people were trustworthy. He watched everyone carefully, especially those who spoke too much or looked at the jewels with greedy eyes. Lyra sat beside Jack, holding one of the shining stones. She looked tired but hopeful. Jack wanted to protect her more than ever. Suddenly, the village elder approached. His face was serious, and his eyes held a warning. "Jack," he said quietly, "not everyone here is true to us." Jack frowned. "What do you mean?" The elder glanced around, making sure no one else was listening. "There is one among us who has made a secret deal with the raiders." Jack's heart sank. Betrayal was the worst danger. If they learn about the jewels, they will come with more force, the elder warned. We must find the traitor before it is too late. Jack nodded. "I will help you." Lyra looked at Jack, confusion and fear in her eyes. She trusted Jack completely, but she did not understand the danger fully. Jack decided to watch closely, move through the village, paying attention to the villagers' words and actions. Spoke quietly with some, asking questions without revealing too much. Days passed with little sign of betrayal. Jack began to feel hope again. Then, one evening, as the sun set and the sky turned red, Jack saw something that changed everything. He was near the edge of the village when he noticed a figure moving in the shadows. It was one of the villagers, a man Jack had spoken with often. The man carried a small bag and moved quickly toward the jungle. Jack followed silently, keeping his distance. The man reached a hidden clearing and waited. Soon raiders appeared, emerging from the trees. They greeted the man with quiet words and took the bag from his hands. Jack's heart pounded. He watched as the man handed over some of the jewels. They had gathered from Lyra. The betrayal was real. Jack knew he had to act fast. He returned to the village and found Lyra. "We have a problem," he said quietly. Lyra's eyes widened. "Betrayal." Jack nodded. "Yes, someone is helping the raiders." Lyra looked frightened, but steady. Jack gathered a few trusted villagers and told them what he had seen. Together, they planned to catch the traitor. That night, Jack and the villagers hid near the secret meeting place. Hours passed slowly. Finally, the traitor appeared, carrying another bag of jewels. The raiders arrived soon after. Jack stepped forward, raising his voice. "Stop! You are caught." The traitor froze, fear in his eyes. The raiders growled and prepared to attack, but the villagers were ready. They fought fiercely, protecting Jack and Lyra. The traitor tried to escape, but Jack caught him. "Why?" Jack demanded. The man looked. "Broken, I had no choice. They threatened my family." Jack felt a pang of sympathy, but knew he could not let this continue. "We will protect your family," Jack said firmly. "But you must help us stop the raiders." The man nodded, tears in his eyes. "With the traitor's help." Jack learned more about the raiders' plans. They were gathering a large army, ready to attack the village and take the jewels by force. Jack knew they had little time. He looked at Lyra, who held a glowing jewel tightly. "We must prepare," Jack said. Lyra nodded, her small hand and his dot together. They returned to the village, ready to face the coming storm. The jungle was heavy with silence, the kind that presses down on the chest. Jack stood at the edge of the village, looking out toward the dark trees where the enemy waited. The raiders had grown stronger. Their numbers were larger than before, and the red-eyed aliens moved with deadly precision. Jack's hands gripped his weapon tightly. Beside him, Lyra stood quietly, holding a glowing jewel close to her heart. The small stone pulsed softly like a heartbeat. The village was ready. Villagers armed themselves with bows, spears, and strange tools powered by the jewels. The elders spoke words of courage, and everyone knew this battle would decide their fate. Jack looked at Lyra and gave a small nod. "We fight together," Lyra nodded back, her eyes full of determination. As the sun began to set, the enemy appeared. The raiders marched through the trees, their faces twisted with anger. Behind them, the red-eyed aliens moved silently, their glowing eyes piercing the dark. Jack felt his heart race but kept his focus. He remembered all the moments that had led to this day, the discovery of the jewels, the chase through the jungle, the betrayal, and the trust. This was their last chance. The battle began with a roar. Arrows flew through the air, meeting shields made of shining stones. The villagers shouted and fought with fierce courage. Jack moved quickly, using the jewels to heal his wounds and strengthen his body. Lyra threw glowing stones that burst into bright light, blinding the enemies. The red-eyed aliens hissed and lunged at Jack. He dodged and struck back, his weapon cutting through the dark. In the chaos, Jack saw the raider leader, a tall figure. With scars across his face, the leader raised a huge weapon and charged toward Lyra. Jack ran between them, shouting, "Stay back!" The leader laughed. "You cannot stop me, human." Jack stood firm. "We fight for more than jewels. We fight for life." The leader swung his weapon. Jack blocked it just in time. Sparks flew as metal clashed. Lyra watched, her small hands trembling. She held a bright blue jewel tightly. Suddenly, she raised the jewel high. A wave of energy burst from it, pushing the leader back and knocking him to the ground. The villagers cheered. But the battle was not over. Jack saw more enemies coming, stronger and faster. He turned to Lyra. Now, Lyra threw a shining stone into the air. It exploded into a shower of light. It spread across the battlefield. The light healed the injured villagers and created barriers that stopped the raiders. The enemy's anger turned to fear. One by one, they began to retreat. The jungle grew quiet again. Jack and Lyra stood side by side, breathing hard. The elder came to them, smiling. "You have saved us all," he said. Jack looked at Lyra and smiled back. "This is only the beginning," said softly. Lyra nodded, holding her glowing jewel close. The village was safe for now, but Jack knew that the jewel's power would always bring danger together. They would protect the jewels, the village, and each other, under the stars. Jack and Lyra made a silent promise to face whatever came next. The battle was over. The jungle had fallen silent once more, but the air still carried the heavy weight of what had passed. Jack and Lyra stood at the edge of the village, watching the first light of dawn spread slowly across the sky, painting the trees with soft gold and pink. Jack's body ached from the fight, but his heart felt lighter. The villagers were safe, and the raiders had fled deep into the jungle. Their threat pushed back for now. Lyra held one of her glowing jewels gently in her hand. The soft light from the stone reflected in her wide, curious eyes. Jack noticed how the jewel pulsed gently, almost like a living thing. They had been through so much together: danger, trust, fear, and hope. But the story was far from over. The village elder approached them quietly. His face, lined with age and wisdom, held a calm smile. "You have done well, Jack," the elder said, his voice steady. "And you, Lyra, have shown great strength." Lyra looked up shyly but nodded proud. Jack smiled and looked out over the village. "The jewels are more than just stones. They're a part of this world, a part of Lyra's people." The elder nodded. "Yes, these jewels come from the heart of our planet. They carry the life and power of many generations. They must be protected." Jack thought about the journey they had traveled, from a chance meeting in the jungle to battles that tested their courage and will. He realized that the jewels were not just valuable, they were sacred. Lyra stepped closer to Jack. She reached out and touched his arm softly. Jack felt a warm calm wash over him. He knew this bond was deeper than words. As the village began to wake and life returned to its normal rhythm, Jack and Lyra sat beneath a great tree. The leaves rustled softly above them. Lyra opened her small bag and carefully took out several jewels. She laid them on her palm one by one. Jack watched, fascinated. Each jewel glowed with a different color and seemed to hum quietly with energy. Lyra pointed to one jewel that shone a deep green. "This one grows life," she said softly. "It brings plants and healing." Jack smiled. "It helped the village." Lyra nodded. She then pointed to another jewel, a bright golden stone. "This one brings light and hope." Jack thought about the light it gave during their darkest battle. He looked at Lyra, feeling a surge of determination. "We will protect these jewels," Jack said. "Together." Lyra smiled, her eyes shining. Days passed, and the village slowly returned to peace. The people worked together, planting gardens, building homes, and sharing stories. Jack and Lyra became a part of this life. Jack helped teach the villagers how to use the jewels wisely. And Lyra learned more about Jack's world, the stars, the ships, and the distant planets. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Jack and Lyra sat by the fire with the elder. The elder spoke quietly. "There is more beyond this jungle, more challenges and dangers. Your bond will be tested, but so will your courage." Jack looked at Lyra and nodded. "We are ready," Jack said. Lyra reached for a jewel and held it up to the sky. The stone glowed brightly, casting soft light on their faces. Jack felt hope for the future. He knew their story was just beginning. The jewels had brought danger, but also new life and new friends. Together, Jack and Lyra would face whatever came next. Their journey was a new beginning for them, the village and the galaxy beyond. Under the stars, surrounded by light and shadow, they stood ready for the adventure ahead.